Hello and welcome back to my little introduction into Ascension, the Ascension process. So we're on to step 2. Just a recap, step 1 is where we realize that we have to make changes in our life. We realize that there's more to life than what we see around us. Usually maybe an event might happen where we're forced to change, and that then starts a whole ascension process. But we've taken a dive into reflecting on who we are and making changes, which evolves the soul into becoming the best version of you. And that's really what our purpose is here in this lifetime, is to become the best version we possibly can. That's our goal. That's the deal. That's the deal. The second step is when we integrate or involve a deepening commitment to our inner transformation. And that's by actively integrating some new practices into our life, daily insights. So we're seeing things happening around us with a fresh pair of eyes, and we're maybe saying, well, I wonder what that's all about. Well, what's that all about? So what's this about? That is actually how I really got onto a deeper level with Ascension. That would be my question. If something happened untoward, I go, so what's this about, universe? And I would just sit and contemplate on it. If something didn't go my way, if I didn't get the answer that I wanted, I didn't go into that lower energy of the screaming heebie-jeebies and, bursting into tears and woe is me and victimhood and all of that. I would just sit there and go, okay, so what's that all about? Why was that a no? So what do I need to do to turn it into a yes? And I think that's the key thing. That's Ascension. It's about managing your emotional body in a really constructive way that keeps you moving forward rather than being reactive and destructive, and it takes you back or holds you in a place. Phase 2 is characterized by consistent practice such as regular meditation, mindful living. So what's that all about, universe? And actually maybe just giving service. So helping people without necessarily expecting a return, kind words, a helpful thought, an unexpected phone call to someone. That's all service. It isn't about sacrificing yourself. But if someone pops into your mind, then phoning them up and going, wow, you just popped into my mind. How are you today? That's service. So it's these little things that bring us into an awareness, because when we do that phone call and we go, oh, just had this really terrible news, then that's you not only listening to your intuition, responding to your intuition, listening to the universe, but you're going to be of service to that person at that moment in time when they need you. All of these things, meditation, mindfulness, service, it reaffirms new patterns of thoughts and behaviors into us. I say we need to get away from being reactive to being more responsive. So rather reactive takes us back, responsive always moves us forward. So we want to be moving forward in our life. We want to be on that road, constantly going forward, jumping over the hurdles because we're still moving forward. The other thing to think about is the virtues. There are, gosh, I think 48, 57, 48, something like that, virtues in this world. We look at virtues in theta healing, actually. And actually, I have created a simple cross-stitch sampler with the ABC 1, 2, 3. In it, I actually have virtue, patience is a virtue. And it's a primary virtue. So a virtue is embodying what that word actually means. So to be virtuous is to be really consciously aware of how you are responding to things, showing gratitude, having patience, having humility. It's almost along the lines of spiritual laws, really, the virtues. And I think when you look up virtues, what that means, or the different types of virtues, you'll be really surprised at the variety of human behaviors that are classed as a virtue. And if we can display those, integrate those, it strengthens its soul, your soul. It creates a higher connection to the higher consciousness. So in the spiritual laws, there's certainly the lower vibration laws, and then there's the conscious creation laws. You'll find those in a little light on Ascension with Diana Cooper. She has listed 21 spiritual laws. And so we want to be in that higher vibrational creative laws rather than the lower vibration ones. And it prepares us for that further advancement in our spiritual journey. Reiki 2, it's really interesting how Reiki 1 sort of came up in level 1. Reiki 2 comes up in level 2 here, the second phase of Ascension, because it balances our mental and emotional body. We want to get on to that place of mastery where we master our emotional responses, where we're neither at one end of the emotional stick or the other end, the low end or the high end, but we're in this middle bit, this middle area where we are hearing what's going on around us. We're reflecting on what's going on around us, and then we have that measured response to what's going on around us. And that's definitely what we achieve in level 2 Reiki. Level 3 Reiki is the master Reiki. So that expands your healing skills, etc. So it's interesting that that form of energy healing is very similar to an ascension path, if you will. I think the key thing when you're going into a new spiritual practice is, one, not to give up because we get bored, we get distracted, it's too hard basket, don't have time, all of those things that are really classed as procrastination. So that's what we're doing. But also just have that chat with yourself about what's the end game. Because to become the better version of yourself, you have to have that vision. Do we want to become a better friend, lover, mother, partner, workmate? Who do we want to become through our ascension process? Kinder, calmer, more helpful, more loving, more compassionate. Who do we want to become? Because I think that's what really drove me on my ascension path. A story I relate to my students, again, my Reiki students. It is really interesting how I'm relating Reiki to Ascension. I used to be a real gossip. It's a terrible vibration. It's an incredibly bad habit. But because I was an area manager, I'd go from shop to shop to shop. I had, at one point, 146 shops to look after. So I had a massive area. Northern Ireland, Scotland, and half of England. So it was huge. And I'd go from shop to shop and they'll go, well, what's happening in this shop? And what's happening in that shop? And what's happening in Ireland? And what's happening in England? And all of this. And I would get sucked in to this gossipy environment. And it wasn't until I was in my little shop in Kilmarnock that one of the ladies there, beautiful lady, and she said, you know, gossip's a really, really terrible thing, because if you're gossiping about them, they'll be gossiping about you. And it's always sort of stayed with me, that little talk that we had. And I said, you're right. I need to stop it. I need to stop going from shop to shop to shop. And I'm really aware now. I became aware of that habit and I broke that habit. And as I've grown older, I'm really aware of not getting drawn into, oh, did you hear about such and such? Have you heard about such and such? A lot of social media is very gossipy. because it's all about the strap lines. Oh, such and such has done this, and such is doing this, and that's all gossip. Really, it's really a really low vibration form of communication. So I think as we move into phase two, and we consciously make decisions. I consciously made a decision to stop gossiping. That then started to free up my time, and it freed up my energy. And I continued to do my meditations. I would be one of those people who go, oh, I didn't get anything in that meditation. Oh, I didn't get anything in that meditation. Other people would be like, oh, I saw this and that, and this happened. Now, when I go into meditation, I don't go in with an expectation. I'll be hearing the words, and I just allow my conscious mind to formulate the images, thoughts, feelings, and colors. And that's my meditation. And so, I've let go of the outcome, and I just sort of interpret what is happening internally. And phase two prepares us for the next level. Buddhism is all about enlightenment. How can we feel enlightened? We can keep practicing these mindful practices. And that's Ascension is very similar. We have to keep practicing. It just doesn't happen overnight. We have to make change, and we have to invest in our change, and we have to be conscious about the changes that we want to see in ourselves. It doesn't matter what other people think. It's about what you think. It's about what you feel. It's about who you want to become. That's the key thing to Ascension. So I hope you've enjoyed this second journey into Ascension work, and hopefully we'll see you for part 3, either on YouTube, Substack, Facebook, wherever you can find me, you will find me. You've been listening to Phyllis Brown on the Good Vibration podcast. Bye for now.